I still remember the day the call came. I was hunched over leftover noodles in my cramped studio when my phone buzzed. "Congratulations, Emily. We'd like to offer you the position at Sterling & Co." For a second, I couldn't breathe. Sterling & Co. was everything. Glass towers, a reputation for bold ideas, and a paycheck big enough to free me from my shoebox apartment. I called my mom, shrieking with joy. She cried into the phone, and soon we were both a mess of tears and laughter. It felt like everything I'd worked for, late nights, unpaid internships, endless rejection emails, had finally paid off. My first day spun by in a haze of handshakes, welcome emails, and a whirlwind office tour. The place was even more impressive in person. Floor-to-ceiling windows flooded every corner with light, a rooftop garden stretched above us, and the break room looked more like a five-star cafe than an office space. Mr. Carter shook my hand firmly, his polite smile hiding something colder behind his eyes. "Welcome to the team, Emily. We expect great things from you." His voice was smooth but cold. I was placed in the marketing department, a pack of 10 sharp-dressed drivers, each with a smile as polished as their resumes. My desk was beside Olivia, the team's golden girl. She dazzled everyone, quick-witted, charming, and she swept me under her wing like it was her natural role. She was everything I wanted to be, confident, quick-witted, and always 2 steps ahead. She took me under her wing, showing me the ropes and introducing me to everyone. For the first few weeks, I floated through every day, convinced I'd finally made it. I worked hard, stayed late, and volunteered for every project. I wanted to prove myself, to show them they'd made the right choice. And it seemed to be working. My ideas were getting noticed, and even Mr. Carter started calling on me in meetings. But soon, cracks started to show. It began with small things. Reports vanished from the shared drive. Emails I'd sent disappeared. Then Carter started calling me in, asking about deadlines I knew I'd hit. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I was tired, sloppy. But the mistakes kept piling up. But then Olivia started acting differently. She stopped inviting me to team lunches. She'd roll her eyes when I spoke in meetings. Once I caught her leaning in close to a coworker, her eyes flicking to me before they both laughed under their breath. I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was being paranoid. One Friday afternoon, Carter called me into his office. He closed the door and sat down, folding his hands on the desk. "Emily, your performance is slipping. Missed deadlines, sloppy errors. This isn't Sterling & Co. standard." Inside were reports with my name on them, riddled with mistakes I hadn't made. I felt my face flush. I don't understand. I've been working hard and I haven't missed any deadlines." He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were printouts of emails I'd supposedly failed to send, and reports with my name on them that were full of errors I knew I hadn't made. "I'm giving you a formal warning. One more mistake and we'll have to reconsider your position here." I left his office in a daze, my mind spinning. How could this be happening? I double-checked everything, but the evidence was right there. It was like someone was sabotaging me. That night, I stayed late. The office emptied until only Olivia and I remained. I watched from the shadows as Olivia opened my folder, deleted a file, and replaced it with a version riddled with errors. My stomach turned cold. It was her. Olivia was sabotaging my work. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I froze. What if she denied it? What if no one believed me? She was the team's golden girl, and I was just the new hire on thin ice. I went home that night, barely sleeping. My dream job was slipping through my fingers, and I had no idea how to stop it. One thing was clear. I wasn't about to let her write the ending to my story. I spent the weekend obsessing, reliving every late night, every mistake, every moment Olivia had offered her so-called help. Suddenly, it all clicked. The missing files, the glitches, the cold shoulders from the team. I'd been so desperate to belong that I'd ignored every warning sign. By Monday, I was running on caffeine and dread. Every glance at Olivia lit a fire in my chest, rage laced with fear. She smiled sweetly, but her eyes sparkled with challenge, like she dared me to say her name out loud. Olivia had been at Sterling & Co. for years, trusted, respected, untouchable. I was the new hire, fumbling to keep up. So I went on defense. Every email, every upload, every message, I documented it all. Screenshots, backups, even alerts on shared folders. Still, she was too good. Whenever I thought I had her, she slipped away, always 2 moves ahead. It was like playing chess with a grandmaster while blindfolded. Meanwhile, I was unraveling. Teammates fell silent when I walked into the break room. I caught whispers, "She's not gonna last. Did you see her last report?" Even Sarah, my mentor, kept her distance. The pressure crushed me. I missed meetings, snapped at coworkers, made real mistakes. Olivia thrived, swooping in to help, polishing her halo while I drowned. One night, I stayed late, hiding in a conference room with a view of the office floor. Around 7, Olivia was still at her desk. I watched her glance around, then slip a USB drive into my computer. My pulse thundered. I raised my phone, recording through the glass. She copied files, deleted others, and finally typed something before pulling the drive out. When she left, I rushed to my desk. On the screen sat a resignation letter with my name on it. She wasn't just sabotaging me, she was trying to erase me. I saved everything. Screenshots, recordings, even security footage. Finally, I had her. Or so I thought. The next morning, Carter called me in. He looked tired, exasperated. "Emily, I received your resignation last night," he said, sliding the letter across his desk. My throat closed. "I didn't write this. Olivia, she..." He raised a hand. "Emily, I know you're under stress, but blaming teammates won't help. I need honesty." Hopelessness crashed over me. He didn't believe me. No one did. I left his office shaking, only to find Olivia in the hallway, laughing with the others. She caught my eye and gave a little wave. Something inside me snapped. I was done playing defense. If I wanted to survive, I needed more than proof. I needed a plan. With Sarah's reluctant help, I gathered evidence. Access logs from IT, more footage, a trap project designed to lure Olivia in. And it worked. The decoy file vanished overnight. This time, I had her. But before I could present it, Olivia struck first. She called an emergency meeting. Standing at the front, papers in hand, her voice trembled just enough to sound fragile. "I've discovered a series of mistakes in Emily's work, errors that could cost the company thousands. I think we need to act before it's too late." The room went still. Dozens of eyes turned to me. The conference room was so quiet I could hear the air conditioning click on and off. Olivia stood at the front, eyes bright with contrived concern, handing out copies of my mistakes. Her smile was all polished sympathy. Her satisfaction hid behind a mask of professionalism. "Emily, I'm sorry," she said, voice trembling the way actors practice, just enough to sound sincere. "But I had to bring this up. These errors could cost the company thousands." I looked down. The printouts showed transposed numbers, missing data, even altered lines of code. Exactly the fingerprints I'd seen her leave behind at midnight. Mr. Carter's face was a blank I couldn't read. He glanced at me, then at the papers. "Emily, do you have anything to say?" My hands shook, but I forced them steady. "Yes." I connected my phone to the screen and opened the folder I'd carried like armor. Screenshots, access logs, and the security footage from the night Olivia used a USB on my computer. The video filled the wall. Olivia glanced around, plugged in the drive, copied files, and typed the resignation before leaving. Around the table, people leaned forward. The hum of the ACs seemed to fade. I didn't write that letter. Olivia did. She's been sabotaging my work. Silence held for a beat that felt like an hour. Then Sarah stood. The access logs match. Olivia's been in Emily's folders almost nightly. Files disappear after she stays late. Olivia's color drained. She reached for an explanation. "I was trying to help," but Mr. Carter raised a hand. "Olivia, we'll investigate." The room dissolved into low voices and shifting chairs. Olivia stormed past me, heels sharp on tile, her face a mix of fury and wounded innocence. For the first time in weeks, people met my eyes. A few offered quiet apologies. It felt like, for a breath, justice. HR opened an investigation. I handed over every file, every screenshot. Sarah sat with me at HR interviews, her presence steady when my hands still trembled. Olivia was suspended pending the review, and the office lightened as if someone had opened a window. I should have been elated. Instead, victory tasted thin. I started to dig. With Sarah's help, I traced a pattern. Projects derailed soon after Olivia took them on, coworkers quietly exiting, promotions timed suspiciously close to personnel problems. I compiled a report, timelines, missing file logs, names, and sent it anonymously to HR, legal, and the executive team. I didn't want attention, I wanted protection for anyone who might be next. Then the smear came. A week after Olivia's termination, my phone vibrated with an anonymous message, a cropped screenshot of a private chat between Olivia and a manager at a rival firm. In it, Olivia claimed, bold as brass, that she'd been set up, that I was the one undermining projects to gain sympathy. The image included a single accusing line. Emily's been playing the victim to save her job. It was short, believable, and poisonous. My chest tightened as I scrolled through the messages and imagined the ripple effect, doubt planted in people who'd once apologized. That was the moment I realized winning in HR wasn't the same as winning in people's minds. Olivia hadn't vanished. She was trying to rewrite the story. I closed my laptop and stared at the dark screen. If she was going to poison the well, I'd have to drag the truth into the light. I couldn't let a smear do the work of a reputation. I opened a blank document and began to type. A clear public account, timelines, evidence links, testimonies. Not revenge, evidence. Not rage, facts. That's when I decided to go public with the truth. Going public wasn't a decision I made lightly. I knew it could backfire. I could be seen as a troublemaker, or worse, as someone who couldn't handle the pressure of corporate life. But after everything Olivia had done, and seeing her already trying to rewrite the story, I knew I had to take control of the narrative. I started by writing a detailed account of what had happened, leaving out confidential company information, but making it clear how workplace sabotage and toxic competition could destroy careers. I didn't name Olivia directly, but anyone who knew Sterling & Co. would recognize the story. I posted it anonymously on a popular industry forum, one that HR professionals and recruiters often read. The response was immediate. Dozens of people commented, sharing their own stories of being undermined by coworkers or managers. Some even messaged me privately, saying they'd worked with someone just like Olivia. The post started trending, and soon people were speculating about which company it was. Within a day, I got a call from HR. They had seen the post and wanted to make sure I was okay. They assured me that my job was safe and that they were taking steps to prevent anything like this from happening again. For the first time since I'd started at Sterling & Co., I felt like someone was actually listening. But Olivia wasn't done. She started reaching out to my coworkers, trying to turn them against me. She claimed I'd set her up, that I was jealous of her success, and that I'd manipulated the evidence. Some people believed her. I started getting cold stares in the hallway, and a few teammates stopped talking to me altogether. It hurt, but I refused to back down. I kept my head high, focused on my work, and leaned on the people who supported me, like Sarah, who became my closest ally. Together, we started a quiet campaign to rebuild trust in the team. We organized team lunches, encouraged open communication, and made sure everyone felt included. Meanwhile, the investigation into Olivia's past projects was still ongoing. HR found more evidence of her sabotage, deleted files, altered reports, and even emails she'd sent from other people's accounts. It was clear she'd been playing this game for years, and I wasn't her first victim. One afternoon, I was called into a meeting with the executive team. They wanted to hear my side of the story in person. I was nervous, but I knew this was my chance to set the record straight. I walked into the boardroom, my heart pounding. The CEO, Ms. Patel, sat at the head of the table, flanked by HR and legal. She looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Emily, we've reviewed the evidence, but we want to hear from you directly. Tell us what happened. I took a deep breath and told them everything, from the day I started to the first signs of sabotage to the night I caught Olivia in the act. I explained how I'd gathered evidence, how Sarah had helped me, and how Olivia had tried to frame me for quitting. I didn't sugarcoat anything, but I also didn't exaggerate. I wanted them to see that I was telling the truth. When I finished, Ms. Patel nodded. Thank you, Emily. That took a lot of courage. We're committed to making sure this never happens again. As I left the meeting, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time, I believed things might actually get better. But Olivia wasn't finished. She showed up at the office one last time, demanding to speak with Mr. Carter. She caused a scene in the lobby, shouting that she'd been framed, that she was going to sue the company, and that I was a liar. Security had to escort her out. The next day, I received an email from an unknown address. It was Olivia. You think you've won, but this isn't over. I know things about this company that would ruin you and everyone else. Watch your back. For a moment, I felt a flicker of fear. But then I realized Olivia was desperate. She'd lost her power, and all she had left were empty threats. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that she might try something drastic. I doubled down on protecting myself, changing passwords, backing up files, and making sure all my communications were documented. A week later, the company held an all-hands meeting. Ms. Patel addressed the entire staff, talking about the importance of integrity, teamwork, and supporting one another. She didn't mention Olivia by name, but everyone knew what she was talking about. After the meeting, several coworkers approached me. Some apologized for doubting me. Others thanked me for standing up for what was right. Even Mr. Carter, who had been so cold and distant, pulled me aside. I misjudged you, Emily. I'm sorry. You've shown real strength through all of this. I nodded, accepting his apology, but I knew trust would take time to rebuild. Just when I thought things were finally settling down, I got a call from a journalist. They'd seen my anonymous post and wanted to do a story on workplace sabotage and toxic office culture. They promised to keep my identity confidential, but they wanted to use my experience as a case study. I hesitated. Going public could help others, but it could also put me and the company under a microscope. I wasn't sure I was ready for that kind of attention. But then I thought about all the people who'd messaged me, thanking me for sharing my story. I realized I had a chance to make a real difference, not just for myself, but for anyone who had ever been bullied or sabotaged at work. I agreed to the interview. The interview was published a week later. The journalist kept my name and company anonymous, but the story was unmistakably mine. The article went viral almost overnight. People from all over the world commented, sharing their own experiences with toxic workplaces and office sabotage. Some thanked me for speaking up. Others admitted they'd stayed silent in similar situations, afraid of losing their jobs or being labeled as troublemakers. The response was overwhelming. My inbox filled with messages, some from strangers, some from old friends, and even a few from former Sterling & Co. employees who'd left because of Olivia. They told me stories that mirrored my own. Projects sabotaged, reputations ruined, and careers derailed. It was clear that Olivia's pattern of behavior had gone unchecked for too long. Sterling & Co. couldn't ignore the attention. Ms. Patel, the CEO, called an emergency meeting with the executive team. They decided to launch a company-wide review of workplace culture and policies. HR brought in outside consultants to interview employees, review past complaints, and recommend changes. For the first time, people felt safe speaking up. The culture of silence was finally breaking. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding my reputation and my confidence. It wasn't easy. Some people still looked at me with suspicion, and a few whispered that I'd only survived by playing the victim. But most of my coworkers saw the truth. They saw how hard I worked, how I supported the team, and how I refused to let bitterness take over. Sarah, my mentor, became a true friend. We started having lunch together every week, talking about everything from work to life outside the office. She told me she'd never seen anyone stand up to Olivia before, and that my courage had inspired her to speak out too. A few months later, Sterling & Co. announced a new initiative, a mentorship program for new hires, designed to help them navigate office politics and build supportive relationships. I was asked to help lead it. At first, I hesitated. I wasn't sure I was ready to be a mentor, but Sarah encouraged me. "You've been through the fire, Emily. Who better to help others avoid getting burned?" I accepted. The program quickly became one of the most popular at the company. New hires felt welcomed and supported, and the team started to heal. The atmosphere in the office changed. Less competition, more collaboration. People actually smiled in the hallways. As for Olivia, I heard she tried to get a job at another company, but word had spread. The industry is smaller than you think, and her reputation followed her. Last I heard, she'd moved to another city, trying to start over. Part of me felt sorry for her. I wondered what had made her so desperate to win at any cost. But I also knew she'd made her choices. One day, I got an email from Miss Patel. She thanked me for my honesty and resilience and told me that the company was better because of what I'd done. She even hinted at a promotion, something I'd dreamed about since my first day. But the real victory wasn't the promotion or even clearing my name. It was knowing that I'd stood up for myself and for others. I'd turned my nightmare into a chance to make things better, not just for me, but for everyone who came after. Looking back, I realized that revenge didn't have to mean destroying someone else. Sometimes the best revenge is simply surviving, thriving, and refusing to let anyone else define your story. I still have tough days. There are still moments when I doubt myself or wonder if I could have done things differently. But I know now that I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. And if you're watching this, maybe you're going through something similar. Maybe you feel like you're alone or that no one will believe you. But trust me, your story matters, your voice matters, and sometimes standing up for yourself is the bravest thing you can do. So what would you have done in my place? Would you have fought back or walked away? Let me know in the comments below.